Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
It is a glorious weather Sunday in downtown Cincinnati. Look at that shot along the banks of the mighty Ohio. Great American Ballpark. Another big crowd on hand today. The Reds are going for the sweep of the defending world champion Chicago Cubs. And hi again, everybody, alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome as always, and a happy 4th of July weekend. It's Reds baseball. Let's get right to it. Our IGS bringing the energy. We've talked so much, Eddie, of this team. Got good starting pitching. They're capable of winning a lot of games. That's what they've had during this series.
Hey, they really have, Tom, and it started with Scott Feldman coming out throwing awfully well against the club that he used to play for. We saw Lorenzen, we saw Wandy Peralta at the end of that ball game, threw the ball awfully well. How about Jackson Stevens yesterday? Young kid comes up, not even a highly touted prospect, but boy, he has made a name for himself. Pitched awfully well yesterday. Lorenzen again. And how about Raisel Iglesias? I mean, 100 miles an hour from down under. Oh, baby.
So the Reds win the first two. Now they're trying to make it 3 in a row. And the man who gets a ball today is right-hander Tim Adelman. Your thoughts on his year so far?
I think he's thrown the ball real well, Tom. I think the big key, as we talked about, is starters keeping you in the ball game. Adelman, even when he's had 4-run ball games, he's kept the team in the game. He's managed tough innings, and I think that's a big key for him this afternoon.
Meanwhile, the great mystery for the Cubs, among many of them so far this year, is Jake Arrieta. He starts a game today. 2 years ago, this was a Cy Young Award winner. The numbers wouldn't back that up right now.
I think a lot of it has to do with control. I think when you talk to Jake Arrieta, he talks about arm strength and body strength. This guy's in great shape. It's just command of the strike zone. It's not the same as what we saw in his Cy Young season when he was really pitching well last year.
All right, when we come back, we'll check in with the main man. He's standing by with news on his main man, Joey Votto. You want to know what's happening with Joey Votto? You go to Jim Day. He has the answers.
Out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer.
and by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Hey guys, meteorologist Brandon Orr here from Local 12. Nice day for some baseball out around downtown Cincinnati. I will guarantee you absolutely no chance of rain today. Couldn't say the same yesterday, but a cold front came through, cleared us out. I say cold front, but it really didn't bring in cooler weather. It just brought the humidity down slightly, but it's still elevated for this time of year. 86 degrees by the end of the game. That's going to be our high temperature today. Again, absolutely no chance of rain. That's the best news. Enjoy the game here on Fox Sports Ohio.
All right, we've said it before, we'll say it again. We hope everyone out there realizes what is right in front of their eyes on a daily basis. That being Joey Votto, one of the greatest hitters of his generation. And June had it rolling on, did Joey Votto. When he's locked in, he is unbelievable. And this year, supplying the power numbers as well is Joey Votto. Number 19 amongst the league leaders in home runs, and during the month of June, 364, 9 home runs, 15 RBIs in the month of June. And he is a legitimate candidate for National League MVP. And you look at the midway point of the season, Nolan Arenado, Charlie Blackmon just having an unreal season for the Colorado Rockies. The Reds will see him next. Paul Goldschmidt continues to keep on doing what he's been doing in his career. And Ryan Zimmerman, he is probably your leading candidate at the moment, because he is a legitimate Triple Crown candidate as well. Although he's got 19 home runs, we'll have to pick up the pace in that regard. But the business at hand today is a possible sweep of the world champs. Oh, how sweep that would be. Can they do it? We'll find out together on Fox Sports Ohio.
Way to the mound, 29-year-old. Pitched collegiately, of course, at Georgetown University. Adelman today gunning for his 6th win of the year against 4 defeats. And the Cincinnati Reds, of course, Cowboy, are gunning for the 3-game series sweep.
I think it's going to be really important for Tim Adelman, especially in the first couple of innings, to weather the storm. It's the final road trip game for this Cub ball club, and they're going to come after him, and he's going to have to weather the storm early. If he can do that, he's going to give the Reds a good chance to sweep these Cubs.
Let's take a look at Joe Madden starting lineup presented by Menards. It'll be Jay again leading off, followed by Bryant and Rizzo. Zobrist, his first start, just activated off the DL yesterday. Wilson Contreras behind the plate, and Ian Happ moves into center field. Addison Russell, the shortstop, Baez at second. Arrieta is on the mound. Those are the numbers on Adelman. Pitched in 1 game out of the bullpen. Big crowd again on this hot summer Sunday afternoon. Adelman's last start, he went 5, allowed 5 runs. But it was good enough to pick up the win against the Milwaukee Brewers in a A6 decision. Against Chicago so far this year, 1 start and he threw the ball very well. Reds lost the game in 11 innings. But back in the final week of April, he went 6 innings, allowed 4 hits and 2 runs. First pitch to John Jay. We are underway. 85 degrees. Jay hooks one to the right side and caught by Scooter Gennett. Take a look at the Reds defensively, presented by Foyd. And once again, it is Gennett at second base. Cozart back in there after returning from the disabled list. Started Friday night, had yesterday off. Regular outfield, and Mesoraco today hanging the side. Today will be the day we will find out about the National League All-Star team, the American League All-Star team. Was Cozart able to hold off Corey Seager of the Dodgers and be the National League starter at that position? What's the fate of Joey Votto? Has Rizzo leapfrogged into first, which certainly would complicate things, despite the fact that Votto is having an MVP year. Swing and a miss by Bryant. Now, Bryant at last check was the leading vote getter down at third base, and Bryant would be the first to tell you that there are other guys playing third base around the National League that would be more deserving.
One of them's in Colorado, where we're headed.
That's exactly right, Nolan Arenado. But look, make no mistake about it, this guy is one of the great players in the game, reigning most valuable player in the National League, and right now playing through a very tender ankle. Suffered that injury in the series before the Cubs came to Cincinnati. This was the most recent. This is nothing new today, so please don't misunderstand when you see this. Those were the leading vote getters at each position as of Friday, and the teams are announced tonight. Fastball, strike 3 called, and Bryant can't argue with that.
Perfectly placed, starts it off the edge and brings it right back on the money. If you're a hitter, even of Chris Bryant's caliber, you see that as a ball all the way until the last second, and it's too late to pull the trigger.
So a nice start for Adelman, and now he'll go to work on Anthony Rizzo. 259 batter, 18 home runs, 50 runs batted in. Big swing and a miss. Well, you don't see Rizzo take a lot of hacks like that one where he almost fell over. He swings hard, but that's a really big swing. We saw him yesterday, a lot like Joey Votto. You know, when he gets to 2 strikes, he'll choke up, and you won't see that kind of a swing.
That is that hole that we have been talking about since the Cubs got here. If you hit it, you get it. If you miss out over the plate, he gets it.
So now he will choke up on that bat on an 0-2 pitch coming in there again, and that one left out over the plate a little bit, and he fouled it back.
Well, the thing about that inside pitch, Tom, is you open up the other parts of the plate. You can have a chance to go with a backdoor breaking ball here, a changeup away.
Breaking ball there.
Mesoraco wanted that pitch down in the dirt, down and in, as we saw Feldman in game 1 strike out Rizzo in his first at bat with that exact pitch, but that pitch leaked out over the plate a bit.
Rizzo has clubbed 30 or more home runs each of the last 3 years. He's knocked in 100 or more in each of the last 2. And because he crowds that plate so much, he will get hit a lot. In fact, 2 years ago, he led the league, hit 30 times in 1 year.
Well, not only does he crowd it, but he takes his upper body over the plate as the ball comes to the plate.
It's a ground ball to the shortstop. And the inning is over. A real nice start to this one for Tim Adelman. All right, Hamilton, Cozart, Votto coming up. No score. Three top of the inning for Reds right-hander Tim Adelman. So now the Reds starting lineup under manager Brian Price, presented by Menards. It'll be Hamilton, Cozart, Votto, Duvall, Schebler, Suarez, Jeanette, Mesoraco, Adelman against a man who was so spectacular 2 years ago, was still very good last year. In 15 he won the Cy Young, won 18 games, ERA up a 1.5 from the year prior, but still right around 3. But that is not the story on the numbers this year for Jake Arrieta. Strike one. Arrieta making his 17th start, his 12th on the road. That's the most road starts of any pitcher in Major League Baseball. Kind of funny how that worked out. What a play by Bryant. That's the only way you get Hamilton. If it goes by Bryant, that's an infield hit.
Well, that ankle looked pretty good there. Diving to his left, pushing off the right ankle, and then bouncing back to his feet and pushing off the right ankle again. It didn't look like anything was wrong with him on that play.
Well, you know, you and I started to talk a little bit about it yesterday, but if any of you at home saw that video, the way Bryant had to not only leave the field in Washington 2 days before the Cubs came to Cincinnati, but even once they got him in the dugout, to try and get him from the dugout to the clubhouse.
He couldn't walk.
No. And yet he missed 1 game. This was the injury over near the bag and just rolled over that right ankle. And I mean, look at this. He's basically being carried into the clubhouse.
Couldn't put any weight on it.
Oh, and 2 on Zach. Boy, he has to be so nervous, wondering about that trip to the All-Star game. Will it happen? Will he be the starter? I think it's safe to say if he's not the starter, he's going to the All-Star game. That probably is not even debatable. With the year he's put together, he's led all National League shortstops in virtually every major offensive category the entire year until this recent injury. But the question is, will he start it? Hear that name in a starting lineup?
Well, they're just few players that put their names at the top of the league year in and year out. And when you have an opportunity for that to happen, that's pretty special.
Short right. And that's a second out of the inning. We look at the Cubs on defense, presented by Ford. We saw Zobrist make that play in right. Happ moves over to center. And Jay the start again in the left. Boy, did Baez make some plays on defense yesterday. Goodness. What an athlete. Now Joey Votto. Votto, another guy. Will he be on the All-Star team? I mean, look, there's no debate whether he should be or shouldn't be. Leads the National League in OPS, among the top 10 in hitting, second in home runs, ninth in RBIs, fourth in runs, eighth in hits, third in total bases, leads the league in walks, second in on-base percentage and slugging percentage, and the fourth most extra base hits. You tell me, is that an All-Star?
Well, there are some guys that come to the plate and choke up with 2 strikes. Votto shows up at the plate already choked up. And it used to be the theory that, when you and I talked about this other day, Tom, if you choked up and you couldn't hit the ball a long way, it took away from your power. Well, not Votto's and not one Barry Bonds.
Arrieta, his last time out, lasted 4+ innings, allowed 6 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned. He walked a whopping 6 batters against the Nationals. And there's a bullet into left center field, a base hit for Votto.
And that's what I was talking about as we began the ball game, Tom. It's not just about velocity or physical issues. It's really about location when it comes down to Arrieta missing. He's starting the ball in the middle of the plate, and instead of getting that good run and sink that we saw years ago, it's not happening.
Now Duvall really starting to catch fire again during this homestand. He has 8 hits and 19 at bats. 7 of the 8 hits are for extra bases. 4 doubles, 3 home runs, and 8 runs batted in. And that's in 5 games.
"13 wild pitches for Arrieta. Easily the league leader.
Three 3-0.
Now that last fastball on 2-0, he's trying to bring that ball back to the plate, and instead of coming back to the plate, it just stays outside. He doesn't have quite the same arm slot or release point that he had in the last couple of years. And this was an issue that plagued him when he was in a Baltimore uniform.
Three and 1 on Duvall. Pitch to hit right there, fouled it back.
You look at the numbers for Arrieta in a Cubs uniform. I don't think he's ever been close to having his hits and innings the same. He's given up 90 hits in 88 2/3 innings, and that's before Votto singled with 2 outs here in this inning.
Otto gets started on the 3-2. And here it comes to Duvall, and that's ball 4. So after retiring the first 2 batters of the inning, Reds trying to get something going here against this Cub right-hander, and Scott Schebler will come to the plate. You know, we've talked about it during this series. All you have to do is look at the Cubs starting pitching, and certainly Arrieta is a microcosm of what has plagued their team in 2017 compared to the incredible run they had to begin in 2016. They're halfway through the year. This time a year ago, they were 51-30. 51-30. This year they're a game under 500. Their starting pitchers at this point last year had 54 quality starts. Think about that. In 81 games and an earned run average collectively at 2.8.
Yeah, when you start comparing those numbers, it's not as though they've been horrific this year. It's that they were so good last year.
But the ERA this year is over 4.5. Bouncing ball, looks like he's going to get out of the inning. And he will. A hit, 2 left. End of 1, no score.
What's at stake today? It's our Elk and Elk storylines. The Reds looking for a 3-game sweep, and that has not happened in quite some time here at Great American Ballpark. If you look at the numbers, you will see that first series sweep of the Cubs since August of 2013. It would be the first 2-game home sweep since 2011, but you got to go back to 1996. The last 3-game series sweep of the Cubs at home. So the Reds had dominated the Cubs for so many years. The Cubs the last few years have certainly turned that around and turned it around big time. This would be a good shot in the arm.
Well, it's interesting to note, Jim Day, that you mentioned the last time the Reds swept the Cubs, that was at Wrigley Field in a 3-game series in August of 13. The Cubs have swept the Reds 7 times in series ranging from 2, 3, 4 games since that last Reds sweep of a 3-game. One and 2 on Zobrist. And a line drive in the right. Caught out there by Schebler. Man, it seems like every time Zobrist walks in his ballpark, there's nothing but rockets coming off his bat. Is that just me?
No, I think it's him. He's pretty good.
I mean, come on. Well, look, I'm not imagining things. I just looked at this, and I had not looked at it before. Zobrist's career batting average at Great American Ballpark is .391. So, you know the old saying about the squirrel and the acorn.
There you go.
Strike one to Wilson Contreras. Here's another guy that hits the ball hard.
If I'm Tim Adelman, I'm thinking, well, if he's hitting 390 here, he's due to go down. Surely you can't hit that good that long.
Contreras, a long home run here yesterday. I mean, way back into left center field. That was his 10th of the season. Brewers have come away winners the last 3 days. The final game of the series here, and then the 2 games against the Marlins over the weekend. They'll get started here shortly. The Cubs are 3 behind Milwaukee. Cardinals 3.5. Pittsburgh 6. Reds 7.5. Adelman wanted that call, didn't get it. And he walks Contreras. First base runner for the Cubbies.
Well, if you're Tim Adelman after that at bat, you can't let a couple of pitches that may have been borderline low that were called balls affect you. You've got to continue to stay in that part of the strike zone.
Happ, the batter, he's had a nice start to his major league career. Has a former University of Cincinnati Bearcat, #1 pick. 10 home runs, 23 runs batted in already for Happ. In fact, he led the team in home runs during the month of June. I mean, of all the big sluggers they have in this lineup, and there are a lot of them, and yet it was Happ who had the most home runs during the just completed month.
Hayward, Fowler, Schwarber. That was your outfield in the playoffs last year, none of which are here now.
Fowler, of course, is with the Cardinals. Schwarber is back in the minor leagues. Hayward had one of the most bizarre injuries I've ever heard of. He was chasing a ball and went to make a sliding catch. I think it was in Pittsburgh, and his hand drags along the warning track, and it caused, in essence, what was described as a third-degree burn on that hand. I mean, he's still not back. Now, he's been doing some baseball activities here, running around in the outfield, taking some batting practice. There's a chance he'll be back this final week before the All-Star break.
They've had to pad it up. It's on the inside of his hand, and if you can't hold the bat or put your glove on, what good does it do you? You just got to get it healed. Otherwise, it just cracks back open, and then you're in trouble again.
To the count. Straight away center field. Hamilton back to the wall, and it's out of here. 2-0 Chicago.
Well, that is easy power right there. Big extension for Happ. Didn't really even look like he swung the bat that hard.
Guy's going to hit a lot of home runs.
Just got great extension. Got the bat head to the ball. Big strong fella.
Well, the Cubs jumped out in front yesterday. They had an early 3-0 lead in the game. Hit 2 home runs in 1 inning. John Jay a solo blast, and then 3 batters later it was Contreras, but the Reds were able to rally against Eddie Butler. Got a solid outing from Stevens. Great work by the bullpen, and rallied for a 5-3 decision. He'll have to try and come back again today. Straight up in the air off the bat of Addison Russell. Boy, this guy's scuffling, isn't he? He's a talented player, but right now, Reds are fortunate. You never want to catch that guy when he's in one of those hot streaks, because, man, he can be unconscious at times.
And we've seen that.
Yes, we have. Russell's had a good road trip. He's been nearly a 350 batter on this swing 3-city trip. It's just been in this series. He's had a little flare here and a flare there, but Reds have done a nice job on him. Here's Baez. Ooh. There were some of those that follow this Cub team that were quite frustrated with that one at bat you talked about a lot yesterday. You know, the Cubs have been shut out on Friday night, and you get a runner at third, you get a chance just to hit a ground ball. The infield was back, and, you know, Baez, and he wasn't alone, but Baez is up there swinging like he wants to hit one off the Great American Insurance Group scoreboard out there.
Like he did on that swing we just showed you on an off-speed pitch that was a foot inside. And I think that's part of youthful exuberance. You've got a player in Baez where he feels like, okay, I can help this club. I can hit the ball out of the ballpark, get us some runs on the board. They're having a difficult time scoring runs, having a difficult time keeping runs off the board. Try to do too much.
Baez aboard with a base hit into left field, so 3 of the last 4 have reached after Adelman retired the first 4 of the game. And the inning continues for Arrieta.
Ball got in on Baez there, but you allow a free swinger like Baez to keyhole you in the zone when you run the count full. You're 3-2. He knows you've got to come in there. He has a general expectation of where you're going.
Arrieta can hurt you from time to time with that bat. Big, strong guy. Beautiful breaking ball to get ahead 0-2. Did he go around? No. We had a chance today before the ball game, the Reds players and broadcasters, among others, to walk around the entire warning track out on the field before the ball game and say hello to some of the Reds season ticket holders.
All the coaches out there as well.
Well, a lot of wonderful people.
A lot of folks out there too.
Oh man, it's great stuff. Gone swinging Arrieta. Damage done in the Chicago second. A 2-run home run by Happ. Reds have Suarez, Jeanette, and Mesoraco coming up down by 2.
Home Run Derby. T-Mobile presents it on ESPN July 10th at 8 Eastern. Then the 88th All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 11th on Fox. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern. Reds made some moves today, and they got some pitching help. Asher Wojciechowski selected back from AAA Louisville, and Jackson Stevens optioned back down to AAA. And I know people are saying, what the heck? The guy got his first big league victory yesterday. It says more to what's ahead for the Reds. They've got a 4-game trip into Colorado where you can chew up a bullpen big time. So Wojciechowski added just because they need bullpen help, and don't be surprised if they make even another bullpen move within that 4-game series. That's how you can chew up a bullpen there. Jackson Stevens, unless there is an injury, will not be able to make his start on Thursday. So barring an injury, it will be another starter for the Reds. They have not announced who that is.
So the mystery will be out there for what, Jim Day, the 3rd time in about the last week and a half as to who's going to get up and get a start. And
yeah,
you know, it starts to make sense now that you're going to see one of those guys the Reds have been waiting on for a while to get it together. And Stevenson and/or Reed, perhaps Romano.
It could be. They're all actually pitching a lot better. And then there's that name out there, Tyler Mahle. But the Reds do have 40-man roster issues. Mally's not on the 40-man. Also, in addition to that, Brandon Finnegan was placed on the 60-day DL today to make room on the 40-man roster. So that kind of says to the severity of his injury as well. I would be surprised if we saw him on a major league mound the rest of the season.
One and two to count on Suarez. Reds are down 2-0, and Suarez gone swinging. First strikeout of the game for Arrieta, and that's a guy the Reds need to get back on track. Suarez just 3 of 15, now 16 on his homestand. In fact, Suarez in his last 3.5, nearly 4 weeks has only been a 175 batter. Reds need him.
No doubt.
Here's Scooter. Dropped down to the 7th spot in the batting order, Jeanette. 12 home runs, 2 shy of his career high set a season ago, but that was in just short of 500 at bats. Started to look like he went. Oh, Reds got a break there. Arrieta can't believe it. Arrieta staring over there, the 3rd base umpire, Angel Hernandez.
Might have got away with one there.
Hit hard, but right at the center fielder. 2 outs. That'll bring Mesoraco to the plate. There have been only 7 at bats during this homestand. Barnard's been getting most of the playing time. Mesoraco right now finishing up basically 2 months since being activated from the disabled list. And Cowboy, I know you've talked about it from time to time that it looks like when he's getting a chance to play that some of that timing is coming back.
I think the bat quickness is there. I think it just takes more at bats and more consistent at bats to start to read the breaking ball. That's where you see him have the bad swings. I don't think he's been overpowered by anyone's fastball. And that tells you that he's got the quickness and the bat speed back together. But the key is, if you can only hit the fastball, then you better lay off that breaking ball. But I think when Devin was really going good, he was able to transition a little bit from the first 2 strikes where he was really going after the ball aggressively, back off a little bit once he got 2 strikes and hit the ball up the middle, or maybe try to shoot the ball the other way. I think that's when you really know that he's got things going in the right direction, and that just takes time.
1-2 on Devin, and he went around on a breaking ball, and that's all for the Reds. They retired in order. They trail at the end of 2-0.
T-Mobile. 2017 MLB All-Star Game teams will be announced tonight, 7 o'clock. Who will make it from the Reds? We shall find out together. David Paulino suspended 80 games after testing positive for a performance-enhancing substance. And Starling Marte, speaking of which, begins his minor league rehab stint today. He is eligible to return from his suspension in the middle of July.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. Top of the 3rd inning, top of the batting order, and the Cubs on top, 2-0 on a 2-run home run that came an inning ago from Ian Happ. Now Adelman retired this trio in order. In the 1st inning, Jay lining out to Scooter Gennett, this time straight up in the air left side of the infield, and it'll drift into the outfield where Duvall's got it. 1 out.
That's a pitch that's really helped Adelman. That changeup, back-to-back changeups to John Jay. And he had him way out in front of the second one.
Bounce around the ballpark here. What a great ballpark it is. Bumped into a number of fans that have been from out of town, both Reds fans and Cub fans, last couple of days, and talking to some of them and how much they just have enjoyed, loved coming to this ballpark. I think you start bouncing around the National League and you start comparing ballparks to come here for a fan and the fan experience. And I'm not saying it because I'm biased or working for the team. I just think you'd have a hard time finding a better place to come watch a game on multiple levels, whether it's price, whether it's where your seat might be, whether it's things to do for the kids, whether it's things to do for the grown-ups. I mean, there's a lot going on.
I know. I was talking to Mason after the game the other night. He said, "Oh, Daddy, you should see the wiffle ball field. It's the best."
I think my son took him out there.
I know he did.
And I think your bride was left back in her seats, and she's wondering how long are they going to be gone.
Yeah, she keeps her eyes on Mason. I can tell you that right now, and rightly so.
But I mean, the little guys, they have the wiffle ball field. I think it's a Bob Evans wiffle ball field. It's so cool to see as Bryant is gone for the second out of the inning. All right, here comes Anthony Rizzo. You talked a lot about him during this series and how to go after it.
Well, the Reds have made an adjustment. They're playing Rizzo to pull, and when you play a guy to pull, you've got to pitch him to pull, and that's exactly what Adelman did in this first at bat, pounding him inside, 3 straight fastballs right up under his hands. That opens up the entire outside part of the plate. Fastball down and away, and you get a half swing for an easy out.
Start him off speed this time, and it's strike 1. Now that baby came back to eat, and that's a good thing. That was just below our boot. And they come back there with that backspin on them. I've told the story 1,000 times about old Shea Stadium and working alongside the Cub Hall of Famer Ron Santo. As I like to say, and I'd say it to him and did regularly, he was acting like a big shot. Thought he was still 20-something years old again. Stuffed that left hand out there to try and make a catch. The ball hit the wrist of his Rolex watch, snapped it in half. The Rolex dropped down in the stands. And he couldn't write for a month and never got his Rolex back. The inning is over. 1, 2, 3 again for Adelman. There's that wiffle ball field. Check it out. To St. Elizabeth Healthcare Orthopedics. You can see the Reds take on the Arizona Diamondbacks at half price. You'll get same-day admission to the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. Call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. That will be July the 20th. Tell you what, the Reds are playing. In fact, they're in the middle of a stretch where they are playing some of the best teams in all of Major League Baseball. You know, they started on that last road trip, well, really the last home stand, where you played the Dodgers. Tampa Bay's a plus 500 team. The Nationals are a first place team. Milwaukee a first place team. Cubs were over 500 when this series began. Now you're going to Colorado and Arizona, 2 teams that have been among the best in either league all year. And then after the break, the Nationals come in, the Diamondbacks come in. So the Reds are getting a lot of stiff competition here during this run, better than a month. 1-2 on Tim Adelman. One and 2 the count on Adelman.
Arrieta almost dropped down sidearm there, trying to get that ball to come back. He's searching for movement and trying to create movement, and it's just not happening.
a guy that got in a little bit of trouble in the first inning. He retired the first 2 batters, and then Votto singled into center. He walked Duvall, but he got shoveled, and then mowed through the Reds in order with a couple of strikeouts in the second inning. He's allowed 1 hit, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk.
Whether he has the movement or not, he's making pitches right now.
Yep.
And that's the bottom line.
And Adelman gone on strikes. And 1 time through the batting order, it is 3 strikeouts for Arrieta.
This is the type of movement that Arrieta is searching for. Pitch starting out over the plate. You see where Contreras is set up. Look at that ball move back. Now what he wants, not only with that movement, but to find that sink that he had the last couple of years. This is flat movement back to the plate. He not only wants the ball to move back towards the hitter, but to move downward as well.
I mean, look, it's not like this season has been a disaster for Arrieta. And clearly you get spoiled when you go through a season where you win the Cy Young and your earned run average for the year is 1.7. You win 22 games, and then last year he won 18. The ERA was 3.1, and we mentioned earlier his ERA this year is up over 4.5. But it should be noted, prior to that last start, which was a very bad one against the Nationals, in 4 of the 5 prior starts, he had allowed 2 runs or fewer. So, you know, 2 starts ago, this guy went 7 innings, allowed 1 run.
Yeah, it's just not been a real consistent month for him. He's had 3 of his 5 June starts where he's not pitched through 5 innings. And that's just not the Jake Arrieta that you're used to seeing from the Cubs. And if he was always a guy that had a high 3 ERA, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Right.
But when you have a year where your ERA is 1.7 and then the following year it elevates to 4, people want to know why.
Easy for Rizzo. The Reds have only seen Arrieta 1 time this year, and they have their way with it. I mean, Arrieta got the win, but he allowed 5 runs, 8 hits in 6 innings. He did strike out 8. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. But you take away the start this year, and you're talking about Arrieta, who's only allowed 33 hits in 52 innings pitched against the Cincinnati Reds. Cozart flied out to right his first time up. Straight away center field, and this will be all for the Reds in the 3rd. Back-to-back innings they've gone in order, 7 straight retired by Arrieta. 2-0 Chicago in front. As the Reds actually tomorrow night will take on the Colorado Rockies. Swing into Summer brought to you by Click It or Ticket. Now that's a wiffle ball area, and apparently they get some kind of seminar, all the mascots going on, and kids get a chance to meet them and get their autographs. And like those two kids in the back right there, those boys are saying, all right, there's enough of this. Let's get the hit.
Give me the bat.
Look, they don't want the autograph. They're going right to the bat.
That's it.
That little girl is too. She's like, I'm done with this. I want to swing the bat.
The field is the perfect size because when you connect, it's going out.
You got to hit it, though.
You got to hit it.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger kids, they really like it.
But then below that, and it's a level down because of the way Joe Nuxall Street runs downhill towards the river. They obviously have it leveled off, and they have batting cages down there for the bigger kids. Hook to the right side by Zobrist, and he's 0 for 2, and that's out number 1 in the top of the 4th. Chicago a 2-0 lead. You're just joining us, a 1-out walk to Contreras, who comes to the plate now, and he would score on a home run in that inning by Ian Happ. All of that area is called the fan zone. So you got the slides over there to the right. Kids can go out there and hang out and play, give mom and dad a little breather.
Mom and dad can go by and get a couple of bacons on the stick and then head over that way. That's what I'll be doing.
You like that bacon on a stick, don't you?
Sounds great. It's got that maple syrup on it. Oh, God, it's killing me. I love bacon.
I mean, there's where Cowboy can sit down and have a whole plate full of bacons on a stick. Right?
That's
bacon
right.
on a stick.
Got it.
And then Cowboy, every now and again, you'll get up and
little two-step.
Yeah, a little two-step on that stage and sing a little Dierks Bentley.
They drop a little karaoke. I'll be there.
I remember when you were up there singing that song by that great Cincinnati band from years ago, Pure Prairie League, that song Amy. You were up there singing that.
What you gonna do?
That's right.
There it is, Porkopolis. Bring it to me. God, that hurts me just looking at it.
How many of those do you think you could eat? Because they're really not very big.
I mean, do I think I could eat? That's.
You think about 30?
Yeah, I could probably eat a pound of bacon in a 32nd minute. Be regretting it tomorrow, though. Foot swell up about the size of my skull.
They're out there having a ball. They're going to be here very soon. But I'm telling you, there are some kids right now that are saying, all right, we can move this mascot picture taking thing on the other side of that fence.
Get the bat, Daddy. Get the bats.
Oh, that's good work there.
Good changeup. Second time through the lineup, we've seen a lot of this pitch from Tim Appleton. See the fingers? He's got it on the middle finger towards the ring finger, rolls it right over the top. But the key is the location. Looks just like a fastball until it gets to the plate. Contreras says that's not a fastball. See, that was a pitch earlier for Adelman. He threw that pitch down to Happ. He didn't get the call earlier in the ball game. You've got to stay down there and show consistency, and the umpire will get you that pitch. There it is again.
Happ, the 2-run home run to straightaway center field, his first time up.
Adelman, one of those few pitchers that holds the ball in his glove and gets the grip after his hand enters the glove.
Well, he shook off Mesoraco 3 times. And Happ homers for the second time today.
I made that mistake early in my career, Tom. You only have 3 pitches. You got fastball, curveball, change. You shake once, okay, no curveball. You shake again, no changeup. You shake the 3rd time, it's because you didn't want the fastball away. You want it in. You've shook 3 times. You've only got 3 pitches. He knows the fastball's coming. That's where you have to step off. You look into the catcher, give him the rollover. Let's start it again.
Second time in a young career, Happ's homered twice in a game.
Kid's got easy power.
Well, he sure does, man. That's a beautiful swing.
Body seems to be under control, but when he connects, and that ball jumps off his bat.
3-0 Cubs. The home run ball has hurt Adelman. That's 18 of them he's given up now in 78 innings pitched. And those kind really hurt. 2 outs in an inning. You're ahead 2 strikes inning at bat. They all hurt.
Most of the home runs that Tim Adelman has allowed have been fastballs that have stayed over the plate and over the plate in a good spot to hit. And in the game today, Tom, we've talked about this time and time again, but even with 2 strikes now, guys are not up there just to try to peck the ball to left field. They're still trying to kill it, and he killed it.
Well, the 18 home runs that Adelman has surrendered this season. The good news is 13 of the 18 have been solo home runs. Straight back out of play again off the bat of Russell, who popped up to Scooter Gennett his first time up. Slow breaking ball and another. Plenty of time here for Gennett. Nope, beat it out. Thought he had enough time there. Russell got up that line. So I beg your pardon. I thought Gennett had enough time to make that play, but Russell, those long strides, and man, kicked it into a different gear about halfway up the line.
Good breaking ball. He hit it right off the end of the bat. That's just speed. Once it got by Adelman, Russell had to be smelling hit.
And it looked like you could see on the replay that Gennett was just a fraction late picking that ball up. Don't know if it was maybe a white t-shirt or something back, you know, in the stands. You'll see that happen to players from time to time where their reaction time might be just slightly delayed, and that can be the difference between out and safe.
Well, when you have a big swing, and believe me, Addison Russell has a big swing, and then you hit it off the end, you get that little bit of delayed reaction because you're reacting to the swing of the bat rather than the flight of the ball.
Slow breaking ball to Baez to get ahead, strike 1.
Now, did you see where Baez's body was on that pitch?
Oh, yeah.
His entire body was heading back towards Joe Madden in the third base dugout. Watch his body here. I mean, he is trying to jerk this ball off his face on the scoreboard.
Well, he smokes that ball down the left field line. Played off the wall by Duvall. They're going to hold Russell at third base after a double by Baez. So Adelman retired the first 2 batters in this inning. Gave up the home run, an infield hit, and now a loud double.
This is a bad pitch selection. You get a guy bailing, falling back towards the third base dugout on the first pitch that you throw him, and then you come back in with a fastball on a guy that has shown you nothing of diving out over the plate. You come in to stop him from diving. You don't come in for a guy that's stepping towards third and trying to hit it in the second deck.
And I'm not asking you to point the finger at anybody, but Adelman's been around long enough. Mesoraco's been around long enough. Both of them can see exactly what you see. Ultimately, that probably falls on Adelman's plate.
Here's the key. The catcher's sign is a suggestion. The numbers that you accumulate on the mound go on the back of your baseball card that has your name on it. It doesn't have Devin Mesoraco. It doesn't have pitching coach. It has your name. You make the decision.
All right, well, you need one more out to get out of the scene. And the pitcher is the batter. This is a must out. You're already behind 3-0. Arrieta appears to be throwing the ball pretty well early on here today. You can't be falling behind 4 and 5-0 in this game. No, just has a feel of one of those kind of games. Adelman will pick it up and does indeed get the final out. 1 run, again a home run by Happ. 3-0 Cubbies after 3.5.
Reds Live, the pregame edition. As always, it's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Features, interviews, first look at the lineups, and so much more. It's on your home for Reds baseball, Fox Sports Ohio, and we've been even kicking around the idea of maybe I don't know, a Tom's Tidbits segment in the future. What do you think? No?
You know, the more and more I think about it, I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think there is such a thing as overexposure. And some of us are praying not to be underexposed, but there's a very fine line becoming overexposed. You know, now Jim Day is walking that line every day, closer to the latter than the former. You staying out of that?
My mic's off.
All right. Reds are down 3-0. It's big inning here for the Reds now. They've got some of the big hitters up. Votto, Duvall, Schebler. Arrieta's allowed 1 hit, and that was to Votto. He's caught out on strikes, and Joey knew it.
Pretty good pitch by Arrieta. You see Votto really crawl up on top of the plate. Starts that at the front hip of Votto. It's a ball the entirety of the direction of the plate until it gets the last 2 or 3 feet. Pretty good movement.
Now Duvall, he walked his first time up. Reds down 3-0 batting here in the last of the 4th inning. Big crowd, and big crowds all weekend. And yes, a lot donning Cubby blue. Weather's been great. I'm sure for those out in the stands, the last couple of days have been very, very warm. Got a lot of sunshine. Knock on wood, no rain. And the Reds are rolling out of town for the Mile High City and then Phoenix, AZ over the next 7 days. It'll be really nice and cool in Phoenix. Be able to get a little breather. But the great thing is, Cowboy, when you get to the ballpark, you never have to worry about it.
It's indoors.
I'm biased, but I love that ballpark too. That's a cool ballpark.
I like it.
It's a little too big. They built it and they admitted so when they, they had that franchise that started in 1998, and they built a stadium that's so much bigger than virtually every stadium out there except for Dodger Stadium. It seats well over 50,000. You don't see those ballparks anymore. On swinging Duvall. That's already 5 strikeouts.
Hey, Tom, we've already, I don't know, it has such a ring to it. Check it out. Tom's Tidbits, interesting stuff, good info, and bird interviews.
Well, I'm glad somebody wasted their time, however much time it spent to make that thing.
But it's interesting stuff.
Really?
Yes. And bird interviews.
Well,
only you have.
That's right. The ability to do an interview with a bird, which we had here a few weeks back. I really appreciate your suggestion, Jim. I tell you, and the guys down in the truck, I really appreciate it. See, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to beg off for the time being.
Well, the problem is, as you mentioned it, I am very overexposed.
I didn't say you were. I said you were walking a fine line.
Yeah, no. I admit it. There's too much of me. You got to cut back on me, and to fill that gap, we would go to the top of the food chain. We're going to start at the top and work our way down.
No, I got to tell you now, the one guy, the one, that Cowboy had a checklist here last night.
Yeah, leave me out of this.
I mean, he had a nice
Chris's
checklist last night.
Yeah. Cowboy conversations we used to have.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking.
'Cause I have a face for radio. Let's face it.
Get out on the range.
Yes, sir.
And Arrieta fans the side. Well, he's got it going on so far today. by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford, go further. As always, we spend out a special hello to those watching over at Cincinnati Children's today. Hope you're having a great day today. Pray for a better one tomorrow. And we're on our way to the top of the 5th. Reds won the first 2 games of this series. Good games, exciting games. Shut them out the first night. Came from behind 3-0 down yesterday to win 5-3. Reds will have to try and do that again today on the short end of a 3-0 game so far. Adelman going to work on the top of the order. John Jay looks at ball 1. Jay 0 for 2 is lined to second and popped to left.
Yeah, this is one of those ball games, Tom, where you say to yourself, all right, the Reds have not really clicked offensively yet, simply because Arrieta's been so good. But if you're Tim Adelman right now, you've just got to keep the ball game within hand and just give your offense an opportunity. And the Reds offensively seemingly have shown up when they've been given that chance.
Funded by Jay. Adelman a bullet to first in time, and Votto able to snatch that one. Boy, that's a dangerous play. We've seen in past years where a first baseman has to reach in front of the charging runner. The next thing you know, they're out for 2 months.
Now that's the tough part about this quick release from Adelman. He barehands it, a short step, the ball tails back into the runner, but Votto able to get to the baseball and quickly get the glove out of the way. Watch the way Votto turns. He turns back towards right field rather than taking the glove back towards the runner. You go towards the runner, you break your arm.
Ryan is struck out looking. He is struck out swinging. And that's into center field on a 1-2 pitch.
Got a big tall kid in Bryant, so when you do go up the ladder, you have to elevate even higher. You got to make sure the ball stays above the hitter's hands, and this pitch did not stay up there. See where the ball is? It's right at the catcher's mass. That's too low.
One on, one out, and here's Rizzo. Rizzo is grounded to third, grounded out to second base. Let's see if they continue that same recipe of how to come after this very talented Cubs first baseman. Now earlier in the game they moved Suarez over
to short
and Cozart to the other side of the diamond, and that's when they threw out Rizzo back in the first inning.
They've changed it up this time.
Yeah,
around.
and I got to believe that's because of a potential, or with a runner on base. Let's put it that way, right?
Right.
You know, and Bryant normally is a base stealing threat. He's not right now, or at least one wouldn't assume the way he's running on that sore ankle.
I think part of it that too is the ground ball is hit to the right side, you want Cozart turning the double play, even though Suarez has done it for years when he was playing shortstop.
Reds have action in their bullpen for the first time today. Adamant up to 90 pitches, and that's right-hander Blake Wood.
Yeah, Rizzo's starting to really try to shoot the ball into that hole created now with Suarez on the right field side of second.
Three and two now on Rizzo. Runner goes in a swing and a foul ball out of play. Three-two again. Let's see if Rizzo runs. He does. Swing and a miss. Throw down to second base. It's almost like they forgot how many outs there were. I mean, it looked like that, didn't it to you?
I think Scooter Gennett did. He was coming in. It looked like Bryant beat the throw to second base. But did he slide off the bat? Cozart seems to think so. And so do the Reds.
Well, they're going to take a look at it.
Bryant slide here. Cozart puts the tag on him. And yeah, he came off the bag. Looked like he was trying to find it with his left hand, or right hand I should say, as his body twisted around. Gotta believe he's going to be out. And he is.
So a good challenge there by the Reds manager. And that's the way the inning comes to an end. Reds down by 3.
Take on Bryce Harper and the Washington Nationals for as low as $12. It's right after the All-Star break here at Great American Ballpark. For tickets, visit Reds.com.
It's a nice homestand for the Reds right after the All-Star break. 3 teams coming to town, the Nationals, the Diamondbacks, and the Marlins. So tickets are available for that entire stand, which begins July the 14th and runs all the way till July the 23rd. All right, let's see if the Reds can get something, anything, going against Arrieta. He's retired 10 in a row. Since 2 outs in the first inning, he gave up a single and a walk, retired Schebler to get out of the inning, and has struck out 6 batters since the first inning. One of them was Suarez. Where Suarez, and we talk about that, you hear it from hitters all the time. I mean, this guy's been struggling now. This is where he probably is thinking about one pitch in one zone, and if it's not there, leave it be. And his ball 4 was nowhere close. So that's a nice way to get things started. If Arrieta's at Toyota sign out in right center field, Jim Staubach. Boy, you hear that name and you wonder, is that any relation to the great Roger, who played high school football right here at Purcell Marion High School in Cincinnati? He would win that Tundra, and you can win or have a chance to win and just stop by your Cincinnati and or Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Pretty good player, Roger Staubach, and he's gone on to have an incredible career in the business world. He is, if not the man, he's one of demands down there in Dallas, Texas.
Got that right.
And he's still very active in raising money for his alma mater, Purcell Marion High School, and of course he went from there to the Naval Academy. Well, that's big league when you get into one of those academies. That is big league. One and oh the count on Scooter Giannetti, lined out to center, his only time up. Chased a pitch there, and Rizzo will fire for one, and that's all they're going to get. That's a pretty nice looking play there by Rizzo. Scooter way out in front.
Rizzo comes to get the baseball and able to throw it on the run, right on the money.
Here's Devin Mesoraco, the number 8 hitter in the Reds lineup. Arrieta fed him a steady diet of breaking balls to strike him out his first time up. Starts him with a fastball here, and it's strike 1. Brewers already on the board in the first inning. A 1-0 lead over the Marlins. Pirates and the Giants in Pittsburgh, scoreless in the third. Cardinals will play tonight at home against the Washington Nationals. Cardinals going for the sweep of that series.
Oh, that got him.
Oh boy, I got him good. You could hear that all the way up here at the third deck. I think Joe Madden's saying that ball hit the bat. Didn't sound like it hit the bat. I mean, there's a sound that from where we sit, you can hear it. I mean, who knows on a replay, but that sounded like it hit more flesh than it did a piece of that bat. Didn't you think?
Yeah, I thought so too, just by the reaction of Mesoraco.
Well, they're not looking at it. Joe Madden's waiting for a replay or from word from his replay guy. Yep, they want to look at it. So the call was made by the home plate umpire, John Tumpane, and the crew chief always comes over to get on the headset. That's Ted Barrett to your right. Take one more look at it, and then I want to ask Jim Day about his conversation the other day with John Tumpane. It sure looked like he got his left hand from here, but you know, I stopped guessing a long time ago. John Tumpane, if you weren't with us when you told the story Friday night, Jim Day, about him saving a woman from committing suicide jumping off a bridge in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was quite the story. He just happened upon this woman that was on the edge of the bridge as they are sending Devin Mesoraco back to the plate, saying it hit the bat apparently.
That's why I don't make calls on that stuff anymore.
Boy, Mesoraco sure did act like it hit him. Showed a little bit of grimace of pain right away, and it sounded like it hit his wrist at least, or his hand. From here, from my vantage point, I'm pretty close, but like you said, you never know. But John Tumpane saved a woman's life who was on the edge of the bridge, the Roberto Clemente Bridge outside of PNC Park, and just calmly talked to her and approached her and realized the situation. Was able to mount to someone to call 911 and literally was bear hugging this woman from jumping while holding her up on the bridge, and eventually talked her over to the right side, and they got her help, and she said, just let me go and you'll forget about me tomorrow. And John Tumpane in this photo here saying, I will never forget about you. We're going to get you the proper help. And so far it's a good ending to the story. She seems to be doing better, and he saved her life that day.
Great stuff. All right, so instead of 2 on and 1 out, it's 1 on, 1 out, and Mesoraco in a hole at 0-2.
Now the ball coming out of the hand of Arrieta, it's starting to have some serious sink to it as it gets to the plate. Not the flat run that we saw earlier.
Out at the handlebar up the first base line, close to the right field corner. Tapper back to the mound. Arrieta gets one. That's all they'll get. I guess on Sundays you can go up there some selected Sundays and you can have brunch and hear stories from Tom Browning. I can promise you
they're good stories.
They would be really good stories. Everybody up there enjoying the action. Big crowd. Each of the 3 games of this series. Here's Arismendi Alcantara. As Adelman lasts 5 innings today, gives up 3 runs, all earned, a couple of home runs, allowed 6 hits, 1 walk, and 5. Of course, Alcantara originally was a Chicago Cub. 2 balls and a strike. He just chased ball 3. And the Cubs had very high hopes for this young man as a player. In fact, at the time, Jed Hoyer had talked about, all the conversation about Javier Baez and at the time Jorge Soler, and he felt Alcantara was the guy who was under the radar and playing as well as any of those guys. They ended up dealing him to Oakland, and then the Reds would pick him up after Oakland turned him loose prior to this season. Two and two on Alcantara. One hopper, force out, inning over. 3-0 Chicago into 5. Weekend than on the golf course, and that's Inside the Golf Zone with Jimmy Hamlin, presented by Barman Golf. Tees off tonight at 8 on Fox Sports Ohio and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Three 3-0 Chicago. We go to the 6th inning. And now Cowboy taking over on the mound. You had your eye on this guy last couple of years since the Reds picked him up, and that would be right-hander Blake Wood.
Well, it goes just as Adelman did, going back out for the 5th inning. Got to keep the score where it is right now. You can't allow the Cubs really to tally anything extra than what they already have. You're down 3-0. You only have 1 hit in this ball game, so you've got to keep the score exactly what it is. Otherwise, you put a damper on the enthusiasm in that first base dugout.
You're a guy who knows so much about pitching, and I don't know if you'd agree with this statement or not, but this guy Wood is just so perplexing, because there are times when he is throwing strikes and he throws so hard and he is capable of some days looking virtually and being virtually unhittable, and then there are other days where that's not the case, and you wonder, why would that be?
You cannot throw every pitch as hard as you can. And I think a lot of days that's what you get from Wood. Every pitch is max effort. That means you're not always going to get closed on the front side. You're not always going to get your fingers through the ball. And there are times where Blake has come out. He's had great sinker, great slider. He may strike out every batter that he faces. And there are other days that he comes out. He strikes out the first 2, throws a slider, and they hit it into the second deck because the slider just spins and it's too hard.
And there you get a look at exactly what we're talking about. And the other night against Milwaukee, man, he
He was dominating.
Yeah, totally dominant. And we've seen a lot more of the good outings from Blake Wood over the last year and a half than we have the latter.
And there are just some guys in their head when you take the mound, the adrenaline's going so much, you feel like you've just got to reach back and throw it as hard as you can, and until you find success otherwise, then you tend to be out of the strike zone.
Well, he walks the first batter he faces here in the Cubs' 6th inning after falling behind 3-0, missed on a 3-2 fastball. And now Contreras, who's walked, scored, and struck out. The guy that's done all the damage. Should look out all those on the Ohio River today. Boy, what a great day for it. But the guy who's done all the damage today is standing in the on-deck circle. Number 1 pick out of the University of Cincinnati, just up Vine Street from downtown, Ian Happ. One and two the count on Contreras.
That last pitch was 97 miles an hour. There's no doubt that the physical capability to get people out consistently, they're right there.
Base hit into right field. And Zobrist will make the turn. He'll go into third. And the Cubs, just like that, a leadoff walk and a single. Knocking on the door to extend this 3-0 lead. And now Happ in the 2nd inning, straightaway center field with a man aboard. And then with 2 outs and nobody on a 1-2 pitch, golfs one to the seats and right. And for Happ, that is now 12 home runs. We mentioned he was the Cubs leader in home runs during the month of June, and a big start to July. And he dumps one into left field. He's knocked in all 4 Chicago runs, and Blake Wood has come into the game and allowed 3 straight batters to reach, producing a run, and still nobody out.
Fastball starts up and out over the plate, and it stays there. Pretty good piece of hitting by Happ. Now you're starting to give these Cubs a whole lot of momentum by walking the leadoff batter.
Oh, and one on Addison Russell, and a Plants back at the catcher. Contreras back there at second base. I talk about this all the time with Chris, and there are so many pitchers around Major League Baseball, and you know, he spoke about talking to umpires. I know you do the same, but John Tumpain got clipped there pretty good, looked like.
Caught him right under the chin, right in the bottom of the mask. It caught Mesoraco as well.
But I am amazed that more and more of these pitchers are not being called for balks, and I don't know if anybody seen more than a guy than Wood. I just, that whole rule to me has become almost as though it shouldn't even be in the rule book. And he's not alone. I'm not just saying him. We've seen so many pitchers this year where they are deceiving base runners by a stop, and yet they go again.
Start and stop, creep the foot or the glove.
Or never stop at all. Gone swinging is Addison Russell.
Max effort fastball right in the heart of the plate, and Addison Russell just missed it.
So one away in the inning, and now Baez, and he looks at a fastball in there, a strike. What do you think about that? You've been out there a time or two.
That's solid right there.
Now, would you be sitting up there in the front, you know, catching some rays, or maybe underneath?
Driving.
You'd be putting a hammer down.
Hammer down. You got that right. High velocity.
That looks fun. Started two. Did he go? No. The runner will advance on to third base. That'll be a wild pitch on Blake Wood. And Mesoraco did everything he could there. They were hoping to get that strike three. And now Mesoraco is going to visit the mound before this 1-ball 2-strike pitch with runners on the corners and one out.
Well, that was a split-fingered fastball. Mesoraco had set up inside, and the ball hit the plate on the outside corner. See where Mesoraco's glove is. Now he has to shift all the way out. The ball hits off the outside corner, the opposite side of the plate where he had set up.
One ball and 2 strikes on Javier Baez. Arrieta is in the on-deck circle. And obviously he's not coming out of this game. The way he's throwing the ball here today. 4-0 lead. He's only allowed 1 base hit. Cubs got 3 off Adelman, 1 so far off Wood. Through the high gas, and Baez chased it and missed it. 2 out. It's a big strikeout for Wood. Needed that.
And look at where 3 of those strikes were way up out of the strike zone, above the mask of the catcher and the umpire, and Baez still swinging.
Arrieta struck out swinging and tapped back to the pitcher. Taking second base, and that is a stolen base for Happ.
Now watch the move from Wood. The high leg kick, the big arm arc, slow to the plate. There's no reason to even allow Mesoraco to chance a throw to second base there.
And won the count on Arrieta. And now 2 balls 2 strikes. Reds will have a top of the order coming up in the bottom of the 6th inning. What's Devin Mesoraco saying to him right now?
Please throw a strike here. It's the pitcher.
Arrieta chases a pitch. It might have been ball 4 right there. And it turns into the final out of the inning. So thank you very much. Cubs get a run and lead 4-0.
Ballpark Friday, July 14th. Cheer on the Reds when they take on the Nationals for as low as $12 plus. Don't miss that spectacular post-game fireworks show presented by Delta Airlines. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Peter Edward Rose hit number 4192. Now, originally it was the first piece of memorabilia that went for 6 figures. Well, yesterday that record ball sold for $403,000 yesterday. That is that's a big coin. That's up in Tom Brenneman's tax bracket.
No, it is not. But I'll tell you one thing, what it would be, and it wouldn't be hard to figure that out. Let's just say it hit 6 figures, and you paid $100,000 for it 30 years ago, and you just sold it for $403. That's a pretty good return. I mean, there's no fooling around with the Reds. They are up there hacking and hacking and hacking. And there's a first pitch out. Billy Hamilton.
The key to getting a club to swing is throwing first pitch strikes, and that's what Arrieta's done. Now, he doesn't have the same movement that he had in years past, but he's getting the ball over the plate. He's not been behind the count much today.
Billy 0 for 3. Now Cozart 0 for 2. A fly ball to right and a fly ball to center. You'll find out tonight. And that show will be on what, ESPN?
I think that's right.
As they will announce the All-Stars. You know, the Reds are one of only 4 teams in both leagues. I mean, think about this for a minute. You know, the Reds have had some very good teams over the last 7 years, and they've had some bad teams. But they're one of only 4 teams that have had multiple All-Stars in each of the last 7 seasons. Would you care, Cowboy, since you're not with my dad and you guys are normally playing trivia down there and all kinds of things going on, as there's 2 away in the inning, would you care to guess who the other 3 teams are that have had multiple All-Stars in each of the last 7 years besides the Reds? There are 3 others.
In Major League Baseball?
Yes.
Red Sox.
No.
Really? Giants.
Yes.
Going with the winners here.
Well, the other 2 shouldn't be hard to figure out if you're going in that regard. I mean, come on. Now one of them is like
7 years.
I mean, if for no other reason, the sex appeal factor here because of who they are.
The Dodgers?
No, close. But I mean, who would be? They would be second to
the Yankees.
The Yankees. Okay, and then there's one more, and there would be, and they would probably be, this next franchise would probably be, in all honesty, number 3 or 4. You've already guessed the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and then the next one would probably be
the Cubs.
No.
Cardinals.
You got it. The Yankees, in fact, have had multiple All-Stars in 24 straight years.
Wow.
Of course, they've spent for the Stars.
Yeah, they have.
For 24 plus years. Votto a check swing roller. Votto has the only Reds hit in this game. That was a single in the first inning to left center field. No, he did not go around. Three and 2 now on Votto. It's still just a 4-0 game. We are only in the 6th inning. Fouled off to the third base side, out of play.
I think if you're Joe Madden here, Tom, not so much concerned about whether Votto gets a hit here or not, but in a 4-0 ball game, the way Arrieta's pitching, you'd like to keep him in there as long as possible. But if the pitch count continues to escalate, you start getting towards that 100 pitch mark, which is really when they've taken Arrieta out of the ball game. And there's another.
See the pitch count there for Arrieta at 87.
thrown Votto everything but the kitchen sink. That's a changeup there. He's cut it in. He's run the sinker away from him.
And on the ground to the second baseman, and that's all. The Reds again gone in order. Arrieta's pitching an outstanding game so far today. 4-0 Cubs. Chicago today so far. 2-run home run by Happ in the second inning. Solo home run by Happ in the fourth. RBI single by Happ in the sixth. He has knocked in all 4 Chicago runs. And on the mound, Arrieta's looked like the Arrieta of old.
Started out, ball looked a little bit flat coming out of his hand, but boy did he make some adjustments quickly. Changing speeds, using both sides of the plate, cutting in and sinking the baseball. And he's kept the Reds off the board as good as I've seen anybody this year. I mean, this has been all Ian Happ day is what it's been.
And Arrieta day.
Yeah. Austin Bryce.
This young man, you know, up until a time or two ago, has been really impressive.
Yeah, I think when the Reds have asked him to pitch 1 inning at a time, I think he's done awfully well. It's when you've asked him to pitch multiple innings,
right.
I think that's when he's gotten himself in trouble.
And look, that ERA is going to swell when you have the kind of game like he did against the Cardinals when they asked him to pitch multiple innings. He gave up 9 hits and 5 runs in that 8-2 loss against the Cardinals. There's strike 3 to John Jay. But there is a lot to like about Austin Bryce, don't you think, Cowboy?
I think so. He's a hard thrower. He's got a good body. The key for Bryce, I think, as he matures as a pitcher, is really getting a better feel for the breaking ball. He's got that low 3/4 arm action, and when his breaking ball comes out, it tends to stay into a righty or away to a lefty. Now that works great to a left-hander, but to a right-hander, that's the ball that passes over the inside part of the plate, and it gets hit hard. But that low 3/4 action is what gives him such dynamic movement in on right-handed batters. See, that's a slider right there, and that ball almost hit Chris Bryant in the face.
Well, that breaking ball sort of hung up there on Jay, and it dropped down near the strike zone.
And it actually worked with Jay because it was a backdoor breaking ball, and Jay expected it to come over the plate. It did not.
One hopper down to Suarez. And Bryce is retired the first two. Top of the order here in the Chicago 7th inning. Now Rizzo with 2 down. Reds had done a nice job on him today again. Ground out to third, ground out to second, struck him out swinging in the 5th.
They've
All
done
those at bats against Adelman.
Done a real good job this entire series.
Yep.
I think he's 1 for 10, 1 for 11 in the series. Come in if you're Bryce here. You got to make sure you get that ball in there. Oh boy.
High and deep to right field, and on a 1-1 pitch, Rizzo bounces one off the Budweiser sign. You've been talking about that the entire series.
Well, I saw Mesoraco throw down the fastball and he slid inside, and that's why I made the comment, because you've got a hard sinking fastball, running fastball from that 3/4 arm slot. That ball has a tendency to carry back over the plate if you don't really drive it in, and that ball carried right back over the plate and right on top of the right field bullpen.
Now 30 consecutive games where one of the two teams in this series over the last number of years has scored 5 or more runs in a game. There haven't been any 2-1 and 3-2 and 4-2 games, 3-1 games, none of that. Reds of course have already won the series, but they're trying for a 3-game sweep today, and against a duo of Wood and now Bryce. 3-0 has become 5-0. Rizzo hits number 19. Every Sunday we keep it right here for the singing of God Bless America. 5-0 Chicago in the middle of the 7th.
Gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please stand, kindly remove your hats and face the American flag. Major League Baseball, the Reds and the Cubs salute the men and women of our armed forces, as well as those who serve to protect in our local police and fire departments. At this time, please help us honor these brave men and women and all our veterans of service, and welcome Abby Alton as she leads us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Washington Nationals come to town, and you can be here for as low as $12. Don't forget, on July the 15th, the first 20,000 fans through the gates receive a Billy Hamilton bobblehead thanks to Dynegy Energy Services. Log on to Reds.com. That'll be a 4-game series, but it starts on a Friday. So it's Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday 1:10, Monday 12:35. Then the Diamondbacks come into town for 2 night games and a day game, and then the Miami Marlins are only trekked in like the Diamondbacks and the Nationals. 3 straight games that weekend of the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
So do you get a bobblehead on all those games?
No, you don't.
Oh.
But I know you do on the 15th. That is a Saturday 7:10 night game against the Nats. All right, Reds have to get down to business now. They trail 5-0. Cubs have scored single runs in each of the last 2 innings against the Reds bullpen. Arrieta has hit the 90 pitch mark. Justin Grimm getting loose in the Cubs bullpen.
Yeah, I would think if you're making a Billy Hamilton bobble, you would keep the head still and make the feet dangle.
Now see, that's a great
fast.
idea.
So that's what
That's a great idea. That is a great idea.
Just what I would do.
So you shouldn't have just said that on television. You should have gone ahead and put some kind of a trademark on that. Because I guarantee you that's going to happen one of these days. Grounded foul. Duvall in the game has drawn a walk and struck out. Arrieta, the only hit he gave up was in the first inning, a 2-out single to Votto. He walked Duvall, got out of that jam, retiring Shevler. Perfect innings in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. His string of 10 in a row ended with a walk in the 5th to Suarez, and then retired the next 6.
You know, watching Arrieta when he came out early in the ball game and really throughout this game, still not the same kind of movement that we've seen in years past. But what this guy has done today is he's shown veteran presence and the ability to pitch. He's moved the ball all over the zone, cutting the ball, sinking the ball. We haven't really seen that big hook so many times, but we've seen a changeup here today.
In the air right field, this will stay in the yard. 1 out.
It's just good location. I think for a pitcher that's been around, you learn rather quickly when you don't have your best stuff in the early part of the ball game, you still pitch. You move the ball around and may not have the dynamic sinker or that hard cutting fastball or your great hook. You find something that you can locate and you stick with it down in the zone. And as the game moves on, you never know when you're going to find something that goes with it. I mean, that was a changeup there. He had Shevler way out in front, and that bottom fell out of that pitch. Now they want to change the eye level and go up. Nope. I think that's what Contreras wanted, and he got a little shake there from Arrieta. There's that hook.
Bouncing ball to the right side. A firm strike on the throw from Rizzo to the covering Arrieta.
It's almost as though as the game's gone on and a little bit of fatigue has set in for Arrieta. He gets more extension towards the plate, and the ball seems to be sinking much more now than what we saw when he was at full bore early in the ball game.
In the hole, Russell gloves, throws in time, and that'll end the inning. Good play. Stars take the field for the MLB All-Star Game July the 11th only on Fox. Will Zach Cozart be the starting shortstop for the National League team? Well, I'll tell you one thing. You look at franchises that have had pretty much a corner on that market. Look at the starting shortstops. These are just starters now for the National League. Roy McMillan back in the late 50s. Cardenas in 66. The long run by Davey Concepcion. Then the lengthy run by Barry Larkin. Will Zach Cozart add his name to that list? I'm betting he will.
It's one thing to do that in a Yankee or Dodger uniform when you have the popularity and the population, I guess you should say. You start at shortstop in a smaller market like Cincinnati, you've gotten some folks' attention. And Cozart has gotten their attention.
Ground ball down to third is it's bobbled by Suarez. That's a rare defensive mistake by him.
This ball looked like it came up right at the final end. It did. Just popped up right at the last second, handcuffed him.
Over 117,000 fans for the weekend series. Almost 39,000 here today. So Contreras on via the error by Suarez, and here's Happ. He has been Mr. Everything today offensively. Arrieta has been Mr. Everything on the mound. Happ and Arrieta. Sounds like an accounting firm. And they've accounted for a 5-0 lead here today. Happ 4 of the 5 runs batted in, 2 home runs, a 2-run shot, a solo shot, and a run-scoring single. The other Cub run was a solo blast by Rizzo. The last 3-homer game by an opponent against the Reds came last year by a Cub, and that was Chris Bryant. That one fouled down the third base line. Didn't have enough to get out of here. And look at that. Now is that his little one? I don't know. Might be. But he gave it to that little kid. Got to be his, right? Jam shot roller by Happ. And the throw is just in time. The runner takes off for third. And did he save the tag? It looked like Contreras may have kept his finger on the bag.
Well, I think he slid off the bag, but as he was sliding off the bag, the momentum of Suarez, it took his glove away from him momentarily. That's a close play at first, friends. You can see Suarez, he swipes at him. Even though he comes off the bag, Suarez comes off the tag. Of course, the Cubs may want to look at the play at first, and the Reds may want to look at the play at third.
You're right. We might be looking at a number of things, and you can do that.
Yes.
And Brian Price is going to ask him to look at that.
Well, evidently, they're looking at the play at first for the Cubs momentarily. Because Angel Hernandez, who made the call at third, normally he would be under the headset with crew chief Ted Barrett if you were looking at the call at third.
Well, let's start with a play over at first base. Boy, that's so close.
That's really close.
God,
that's hard to even tell.
No, you're right. That is so close.
Well, that's a credit to Happ, because that was going to be a routine play, but he was some kind of busting it down the line. So what I want to know, Tom, is if they're looking at the play at first right now, and first base umpire Chad Whitson is under the headset with Ted Barrett, if they decide to look at the play at third with a challenge from Brian Price, does that mean that Angel Hernandez then will trade headsets with Chad Whitson for the moment?
That is a very good question. I'm not so sure. I would doubt it. I would think once they get over there that they'll just let all this play out. Yeah, so the Cubs are challenging the one at first, and the Reds are challenging the one at third.
Well, if the Reds had their druthers, I think they'll take the play at third rather than the play at first.
Yes, for sure. You'll take the out at third and leave that guy at first.
No doubt. Everybody in the ballpark, including the players, continuing to look at the big board just to see if there was a tag actually there, or if the runner made it to first or not. And you can hear the moans and groans from the folks here in the ballpark.
Yeah, and you're not sure what you're getting, because there's so many Cub fans along with so many Reds fans here today.
And all the while, Austin Bryce has got to stay loose on the mound. This is taking forever.
Well, again, they're having, at least in this case, and I can't remember the last time I saw a replay where they're looking at two plays. So let's see here. Out at first and out at third. So the double whammy for the Reds. How about that?
Wow. So you go from no outs, runners at first and third, to 2 outs and nobody on. The hand right there. The hand as he came off the bag evidently hit the glove. And that was the key to that play.
All right, so 2 down and nobody on. And a base hit into center field. So how important is that call now?
Pretty good awareness by Votto to not only check the runner rounding second, but to make the throw as Suarez was on the run.
And now a missile into right center off the bat of Baez. Hamilton cannot cut it off, and another run is going to score. That's a double by Javier Baez to make it 6-0 Chicago. Boy, that happened so fast. You went 2 outs and nobody on, and bang, bang, Cubs get a run. And even with speed like Hamilton, you're just not going to be able to cut this off. It's hit too hard.
Well, with a guy like Baez, when you start the ball over the plate and the ball stays on the plate, that is major danger zone. We saw it with Rizzo earlier. The ball starts on the inside corner, runs back to the middle. Almost the identical pitch here. The ball starts right on the outside corner and runs back to the middle of the plate. Baez didn't miss it.
Well, these have been huge tack-on runs for the Cubs these last 3 innings against the Reds bullpen, which have been so good the first 2 games of this series, but not the story today. Blake Wood came in from the bullpen, walked the very first batter he faced. That batter, Zobrist, would end up scoring. Bryce, after retiring the first 2 in the 7th inning, gives up the long ball to Rizzo. And now after 2 are out and nobody on, double by Russell, or single by Russell, double by Baez. So that's single runs in each of the last 3 innings. I mean, you feel like you're in it at 3-0, at 6-0, you're in trouble. Tommy La Stella bats for Arrieta. Well, what a performance he turned in today after lasting just 4+ innings and giving up 6 runs. And now Bryce drills La Stella.
And it's not always the physical part of pitching 2 innings or 3 innings. A lot of times for some guys that have been short relievers in the minor leagues, you come to the big leagues, you're asked to pitch 2 or 3 innings as Bryce is today. Your head just tells you, all right, well, what do I do in this 2nd inning? I'm used to just pitching 1 inning. If you're an adrenaline performer and you're used to pitching that 1 inning, that adrenaline tends to wane in the 2nd and 3rd inning. You've got to figure out how to pitch.
Well, Bryce is a guy who through his entire minor league career until last season was a starter. And look, the numbers weren't very good for him as a starter. You know, outside of 1 pretty good year in 2014 in Single-A Jupiter. You know, most of his years you're looking at ERA 4, 4.5, 5.5. whatever it might be. And then in Jacksonville, Double-A last year, half the time started, the other half the time they sent him to the bullpen. And then when they moved him up to Triple-A, 5 games out of the bullpen, to the major leagues, 15 games out of the bullpen. Just turned 25 years old, did Austin Bryce.
Well, there are times for Austin Bryce where he becomes a one-pitch pitcher, and that's that hard sinking fastball. And if he's not able to control that consistently, it makes it awfully difficult to get consistent outs, because his breaking ball is his most inconsistent pitch.
You can tell these Cub hitters, they just smell blood in the water right now. I mean, they are up there wailing away.
Well, hitters go back to the dugout and they say, all right, this is what the guy's got. Hard sinker, breaking ball just spins. You adjust when you get to the plate.
Good pitch right there. Hard, in on his hands. And 2 on John Jay.
Well, he's got Jay down in the count. The problem is he doesn't have a pitch right now that he can put him away with. He's continued to go with the sinking fastball. All Jay can do is foul it off. See Mesoraco running through the signs, and they are not on the same page. Maybe he doesn't want to throw that breaking ball here.
Hooked to the right side, came back with that sinking fastball again, and that one pounded straight in the ground, and that will end the inning. Cubs get another run and lead 6-0.
Live, the post-game show. It's brought to you by Performance Kings Honda here at Great American Ballpark. It emanates from what you're looking at. Fox Sports Ohio condominium. It's a small condo, but it's home, and we'll be there after the game.
All right, Jim Day, we'll look forward to seeing you down there amongst your people I mean, you are the man down there. All right, Cowboy, you talked about Justin Grimm last night. He'll take the ball here today with a 6-0 lead.
Grimm pitched in the first ball game of this series, threw the ball pretty well, but the Reds have had his number over the years. And a lot of that is because of his inability to throw strikes consistently. But since he's been called back up to the big leagues, he's actually thrown the ball pretty well for the Cubs. Mid-90s fastball, very sharp breaking ball.
Scooter Gennett to lead things off. Reds offense, 1 hit. And this is a good Reds offense. That gives you an idea about
how
the kind of stuff Arrieta was featuring today.
Did an awfully good job of keeping the Reds off balance.
To the count on Scooter Gennett. We are in the bottom of the 8th inning. Cubs got 2 in the second, 1 in the 4th, single runs in each of the last 3 innings for this 6-0 lead, and they've out-hit the Reds 11-1.
How many times do we see a foul ball go into the stands? It's a bullet. It smokes the first guy or the first person. They're trying to make a catch. They take the brunt of the blow, and the guy in front of them or the person in front of them gets the ball. You got a bruise, busted ego, and no ball. Bummer.
The other guy gets the ball and the girl.
Yeah. And you got to sit there and look at him for the rest of the game.
Grimm comes in and promptly walks the first batter he faces. I'm sure that Joe Madden's thrilled with that. Boy, Chris Bosio, one of the he's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
He's their pitching coach. He's a fun guy to be around, fun guy to talk to. Visited with him for a while before the ball game today. I mean, you know, he's got some curmudgeon in him. He'll be the first one to tell you that. But I can tell you, when he sees something like that in a 6-0 ball game,
he wants to chew nails. Bosio was one of those guys. When he was on the mound, he was a grinder. No smile until the game was over, and then maybe not one.
And there's no telling how good or even great he could have been had he stayed healthy. Because my, oh my, he was injured so much. But when he was first coming onto the scene,
oh, he had a phenomenal sinker. I mean, just lead pipe. Felt like you were hitting a tire. And I think when you're the pitching coach, you want your guys to compete in the zone. That's really all you can ask. The guys that dance around the outside, no.
Straight up in the air, playable in foul ground for Rizzo. Tucker Barnhart up there to bat for Bryce, who gives up 2 runs in 2 innings, 3 hits. And Tucker rolls one through into right field, a base hit. So after sitting over there on the bench the entire game, Barnhart picks up the 2nd Reds hit, first one since the 1st inning.
Joe Maddon's seen all he wants to see at Justin Grimm.
This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Madden's going to come get Grimm after the Reds put 2 on with 1 out here in the 8th inning in relief of Arrieta. We're back in a moment. And we saw Koji Uehara yesterday. I mean, he was on the ropes for a disastrous outing, and then he got that big double play ball.
And what's amazing about getting that double play ball is the Reds intentionally walked. Was it Votto to get there? Yeah. The Reds intentionally walked Votto to load the bases with nobody out.
I mean, the 3 walks, 1 of them intentional, and a hit, and yet only 1 run. All right.
Damage control.
Kiblahan is batting for Billy Hamilton. Huh. Of course, Hamilton, as a right-handed batter, is batting .195. So Kiblahan coming up there.
Boy, this guy moves the ball around and changes speeds. He might pitch till he's 50.
1-2 to count. And that went off the face mask, I believe, of the catcher, maybe the mitt. Well, it popped way up in the air, and you saw the umpire check in with Contreras to make sure he was okay. You know, I mean, I don't know what I was thinking about there a second ago when I'm sitting there giving the numbers on Billy Hamilton. I mean, you know, he was going to hit left-handed against a right-handed pitcher. Are you the only one surprised here that the Kivlahan just hit for Billy Hamilton? I don't know what I was thinking. I had a vapor lock there for a minute, but I mean, Hamilton from the left side of the plate up there against a right-hander, Uehara.
Well, if you're Brian, you're sending Kivlahan up to hit off a guy in Grimm that's throwing nothing but fastballs, trying to get a long ball if you can. Or you're just trying to give Kivlahan a bat.
Yeah, he had been announced before the change was made, but just the whole I don't know. Hamilton an 0 for 3 game today. There's a base hit into left field by Kozar. And that will load the bases for Joey Votto. Well, could get interesting here. I mean, Votto finds a way to run into one, and all of a sudden it's a brand new ball game.
Uehara just doesn't give up home runs. 1.
Votto 1 of 4. He has hit a home run against Uehara. Fastball up. In fact, it's the only home run this year that Uehara has allowed, and that was to Joey Votto. He'll work out of the regular windup with the bases loaded. It's a 6-0 game, but what if? Pulled foul. One ball, 1 strike on Votto, and fouled back out of play. And that's ripped down the right field line, a base hit. 2 runs are going to score. And Votto with a 2-run single, and all of a sudden the Reds have a heartbeat.
Like Votto tomahawked this ball up and out over the plate. The pitches that you see getting hit hard in this ball game are pitches that start on the plate and they never get off. They stay on the plate. The hitter sees it, he starts his approach, and he's aggressively after it.
Next hit will be 1,500 for Votto, tied with Klug, 10th all-time in Reds history. Well, that gives you an idea of what it's like. I mean, if there's a better example of trying to put into context how hard 3,000 hits to accumulate would be for a player. I mean, Votto, his next hit, will be halfway there. And think of all the hits we've seen him pile up here over the last number of years. Well, now we're getting another pitching change. Uehara comes in and can't hold down the fort. Allows a couple of hits after retiring about it. And I believe that's going to be Edwards they're going to bring in from the bullpen to face Adam Duvall. So another break in the action. We're back in a moment. Mookie Betts hit a 2-run home run, but later at a 3-run home run. Boston all over Toronto today. And Boston playing great baseball right now. While teams like the Yankees have been spiraling downward along with Baltimore, Boston with a 2-game lead in the division. All right, but more importantly right now, it is Carl Edwards Jr., third pitcher used in this inning.
Third right-hander in this inning.
He comes in with 2 on and 2 out to face Adam Duvall in a 6-2 lead for Chicago. Ball 1. Now the Cubs do not have a left-hander getting loose in that bullpen, and if you can get beyond Duvall and keep this inning alive, Edwards is having a terrific year. You would have the left-handed batting Schebler next.
High breaking ball. Looks like a fastball. Not there yet.
Ball and 2 strikes now. Let's see if Duvall can bear down here, find a way to keep this potential rally moving along. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Inning over. Reds get 2, leave 2. Trailed by 4. We go to the 9th. Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store-wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places. Beautiful day along the river. Beautiful day to be out there on it, or getting ready to get on it. Traveling man right there, getting ready to get on that kayak. He looked like he's ready for a journey of some kind there, Cowboy.
That does not appear to be motorized.
No, it is definitely not.
That'd be a long journey.
Well, he'll be going downriver. He might wake up tomorrow somewhere down around the bend in Indiana.
You might.
Strike one to Chris Bryant. Wandy Peralta takes over on the mound. I could see you, Cowboy. You know,
no, you could.
The place that I like going out kayaking is the Little Miami River, and that's the one, you know, maybe you jump in somewhere up around Loveland, and you know, maybe end up down there along the Newtown Bridge, spend 3 hours or so and cruise down a couple of hours. I can see you doing that, Cowboy. I mean, you were out there in the hills of the Smoky Mountains doing a little rafting. I could see you doing some kayaking, doing the little Miami.
I saw those people in the kayaks. They have their feet up in that thing.
Yeah, but that's a different kind of kayaking. I mean, that's a kind on rapids. I'm just talking about a casual sort of, you know, leisurely sort of pace kind of day down the Little Miami. Not the rapids.
You have to paddle?
You do.
I'm not doing it. I like that gas pedal.
You know what you would need? It's like sometimes you'll see out on the river. I think we saw one a little while ago. Now you might go for that if maybe the guy, maybe there was something like a jet ski. Yeah, it could pull you along.
I would go for that. I would go for that. I mean, I could just kick back, relax. I like motorized vehicles, not manual power.
And so when you asked, do you have to paddle, and then you said you like the gas pedal.
That's right.
That's good stuff. 6-2 Cubs leaders Rizzo.
Oh, that's a good pitch. Well, there's a lot to like about this kid Peralta. Now, this is a pitch young Mr. Peralta did not have last year. He was fastball, changeup. The breaking ball he threw did not have the depth or the break of that pitch that we saw to Rizzo. Talk to opposing hitters when they come in. One of the first guys they talk about in our bullpen, it's not Lorenzen, it's not Iglesias. Hey, where'd you guys get that Peralta guy? Throws hard, left-handed, 97, a good changeup.
He walked him. Didn't want to challenge him there with a fastball.
We threw a good breaking ball the first one we saw. The last two didn't quite finish him off.
That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. The fellow there on the left on the jet ski, and then the other guy's in a little floaty raft kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not big on the floaty thing. I want to be inside. I want to be fully enclosed and somebody drag me along. I don't want my feet dangling in the water.
Now wait a minute. They can go. They can got it. Yeah. Then your cowboy boots would get wet, right?
That's exactly right. Dangle in the water down where I live at, might pull back a nub from an alligator.
Why no? But you know, if you're on the Little Miami, you don't have to worry about that.
No alligator?
No. Down to third.
Oh,
there's one. And they turn it over.
Oh, that was a sweet double play right there. That ball almost popped out of the hand of Suarez.
All right, Reds, one more shot at him. Look at it to break.
Miller Lite. It has been the Jake Arrieta show today from a pitching standpoint. Crossfire delivery, ball moving all over the place and changing speeds as well, and the eye levels as you see that high fastball followed by the changeup. Arrieta was on his game early and all throughout his full 7 innings.
Sure was. Now the question is, it's interesting that, you know, the way that Hector Rondon has struggled here lately, he generally is a setup guy in front of their closer Wade Davis. Now this is not a safe situation, so they're going to put it in the hands instead of Rondon of the guy who used to be the primary setup guy to Rondon, and that is right-hander Pedro Strop.
Strop threw the ball well last night. 3 straight hitters, retired them all.
The Cubs have Rondon throwing the ball well, and sooner or later he's going to get it together. I mean, he's been a solid guy for a long time. That quartet, I mean, really, you can throw Uehara in there because most of the time he's really good too. Those 5 guys coming out of that bullpen from the right side of Davis, Strop, Rondon. Edwards might be the most impressive of the whole group outside of the closer, and then Uehara. Man, it's pretty good.
Well, the key for all of those guys, especially Strop and Edwards, is command of the strike zone. This Strop has got excellent stuff. Great movement on the fastball, great life. He's got a very sharp breaking ball. Will use the changeup. The key is getting the ball close to the strike zone. That was a great changeup right there. You have a high velocity heater, you beat a hitter up in the strike zone, and you come back with that.
Today's producer and the producer throughout the entire weekend. Been a pleasure to be working with Kent Dream Weaver, our director, Mr. Brian Hunterman. Associate producers Jim Mueller and Kevin Pennewitt. And our Reds Live producer this week, Matt Sigafus. Normally he's one of our associate producers, but Jim Mueller and Kevin Pennewitt are handling the duties while Matty's producing the Reds Live show. Coordinating producer of Reds Baseball, Bob Pennell. Our executive producer at Fox Sports Ohio, Tom Farmer. And we thank, as always, up here in the booth, Joel Luckenbach, our statistician, Jesse Jackson running the booth, Jim Stricto keeping everybody relatively sane when he's engaged. Cowboy, it's been great having you here for the weekend.
Had a good time. 2 out of 3 over the Brewers, 2 out of 3 here over the Cubs. At least that's the way it stands at the moment.
All right, so the Reds are down to their final out as Strope tries to put them away here in the ninth. But I tell you, it's been a good homestand. I mean, you can't argue with, you know, 2 of the teams in front of you in the division, the top 2 teams in the division. I mean, everybody right now is in front of the Reds. Hopefully that won't last too long. But
well, the key is putting together a good road trip. And the Reds have had a difficult time doing that on the road. They're facing a couple of very difficult teams in Colorado and Arizona. No better time than the present to start playing well on the road.
Well, the road has just been so treacherous for the Reds. It really wasn't the early part of this year, but you know, you look at what they've done between the trip out west where they didn't win a single game, and then the last road trip where, you know, you go to Tampa Bay, you lose 2 out of 3. You should have won 2 out of 3 in DC, but you didn't. And a base hit into center field to keep the hopes alive.
Ball looked like it went right between the legs of Pedro Strop as it came off the bat.
All right, Mesoraco now the batter. Reds down 4 and a liner to end the game. Mesoraco hit it right on the screws, but that's all she wrote. Too much Ian Happ, too much Jake Arrieta today. Happ knocked in 4 of the 6. Arrieta 7 shutout innings on the mound. And the Cubs win the final game of this series after the Reds took the first 2. Final count of 6-2. Back on the road tomorrow night. We'll talk more about that shortly. Right now, let's begin Reds Live with Jim Day.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. We'll set you up for that road trip. It's a tough trip out west. And we'll show you all the highlights of this one. A successful homestand despite today's loss for the Reds. So stick around. A lot of ground to cover. It's Reds Live. The post-game edition is presented by Performance Kings Honda, and it is on deck here on Fox Sports Ohio. Emanating from the Fox Sports Ohio condominium.